Hey guys, we made it to part 3. Today's video is a special one because the drum part was chosen by you. A week ago I put up a poll on my Instagram and asked you to pick a band that I should look at, and guess what? Arctic Monkeys won. Today's song is I Bet That You Look Good on the Dance Floor, but before I tell you how to play it, we're going to learn a bit about the song, so if you're just here for some drums, skip ahead to the timestamp on screen. And without further ado, let's get started. I Bet That You Look Good on the Dance Floor was released in 2005 as the first single for the Arctic Monkeys' debut album, Whatever People Say I Am, That's What I'm Not, which was later released in 2006. Matt Helders is the drummer on this tune, and he started playing drums because, and I quote, "That was the only thing left. When we started the band, none of us played anything, we just put it together. They all had guitars, and I brought a drum kit after a bit." So let's have a look at what he plays. Before I start, I just wanted to say that I'm only going to focus on the bits that may give you a little bit of grief, so I will be skipping over a couple of things. The song starts off with this groove that includes semi-quavers played on the snare drum. Here's how it sounds. This groove has a repeating 2-bar pattern on the snare drum starting on the end of 1 with a semi-quaver double, then 4 semi-quavers starting on beat 4, and that finishes the first bar. The second bar starts in the same way, however on beat 4 there is just one crotchet snare with an open hi-hat. As for the kick pattern, it's fairly sparse in the first 4 bars, but in the second lot of 4 bars it gets a bit busier. For the first 4 bars there are kicks on beats 1, 2 and the end of 3, and for the second 4 bars we add a kick on the end of 2. After this intro groove we have a build which lasts for 8 bars and sounds like this. After the 4 crashes at the end we go into our main groove. The main groove is a repeating 2-bar phrase which sounds like this. Here we have snares on 2 and 4 in both bars, with kicks on beats 1 and the end of 2 and 3 for the first bar, and on beats 1, 2 and 3 for the second. The pattern repeats itself 3 times with no change, and on the 4th time round we have a fill leading us into the verse which sounds like this. The verse groove is pretty much the same as before, the only change being we have an open hi-hat accompanying the snare on beat 4 of the second bar of the phrase. Here's how the verse sounds. In the 8th bar of the verse we have a fill which sounds like this. Here we play a kick and open hi-hat on 1 followed by 2 semi-quavers on the snare starting on the end of 1. From beat 2 onwards we just play quavers, 2 on the snare, 2 on the high tom and 2 on the floor tom. Then we have 8 more bars of verse, the same as before, however in the final 2 bars we have a lead into the chorus which sounds like this. In the first of these 2 bars we just add a kick on the end of 4. For the second we have a snare on beats 1 and 3 with a kick on the end of 2 while maintaining crotchets on an open hi-hat. The chorus has 7 bars of crotchets played on the snare kick and hi-hat with a crash every 2 bars. On the 8th we have a fill that's identical in rhythm to the one in the verse, it's just all on the snare. These first 8 bars sound like this. For the next 8 bars we have a groove which sounds like this. And now we're back into our main groove for 7 bars, and on the 8th there's a fill which sounds like this. Here we play a snare on beat 1, high tom on beat 2, and floor tom on beat 3. And on the end of 3 we add a little semiquaver sprinkle on the ride cymbal. From this point forward the song repeats itself from the verse up until the end of the second chorus, where instead of going back into the main groove we have a bridge section. Here's how the first 8 bars of the bridge sound. Let's take a look at that fill on the 8th bar. Okay, so for the fill we start with an open hi-hat on beat 1 followed by a kick on the and of 1. Then we get a snare and open hi-hat on beat 2, and now 2 groups of semiquavers moving from the snare to the floor tom. Here's the fill slowly. Then we have 4 more bars of groove with some double crashes. Here's what this bit sounds like. After these 4 bars we go back into the song's main theme. After the final stab at the end we wait for the remainder of 2 bars, then jump into the final chorus with the same chorus groove as before for 5 bars, and on the 6th we have a lead into the climax of the chorus. These 6 bars sound like this. After the 6th bar we're back into the crotchet pattern that we heard in the choruses before for 7 bars, and on the 8th bar we have the final fill of the song. This fill is a little weird because it actually slows down. This is a musical device called a retardando. The fill itself sounds like this. We incorporate some crotchet triplets here, playing 1 with a flam on the snare and 2 on the high tom. Then on beat 3 we move back to the snare and play another flam, followed by a mid and floor tom being played on beat 4. You play these in unison if you want to stay true to the original, but I think it sounds pretty cool if you flam them. And to finish the song we have a kick and crash on beat 1 of the next bar. Thank you so much for watching, I'll see you next time.